All right. Hello, Dr. Miaken Zeigler. Welcome to our workshop tonight. I really like this conversation around heart coherence and heart rate variability. I know that a big part of our exam to evaluate how adaptable you are, how resilient you are to your world is measuring heart rate variability. Heart rate variability and how it impacts your health and really what it means, I think, is valuable so that you can have a more tangible impact when you're looking at, okay, how do I improve my heart rate variability? So let's just jump in this conversation around heart rate variability. And I want to start first with the brain and the heart connection. A lot of you understand how important the brain is, right? You're getting chiropractic care. We talk about the brain, we talk about the spine because that's houses and protects our brain, and ultimately how we process our world impacts our neurology, our physiology, everything. Well, your heart plays a big role in that. And let's go back to conception, right? At conception, when two cells came together to form one, you had the spark of life. And then these cells multiplied from 1 to 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, so on and so forth. Now, the first thing to form was the brain. Second thing to form was the heart, because we needed to circulate blood to all of the body as other organs formed. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that your neurons, so your brain cells, were actually formed in your heart. And then they migrated up to your brain. So your brain and your heart have this intricate connection to each other. And what impacts your heart impacts how your brain responds and processes your world, and vice versa. So let's just look at how, let's just look at some data around the heart. So you have this heart-brain connection, and your heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. Okay, so you think, oh yeah, the brain is constantly communicating with the heart and it is in control. In fact, we're seeing more signaling to the brain from the heart versus brain to the heart. And we have this electrical component of your heart. Your heart has, well, we all have an energetic field around us. All living beings have an electric field. They sometimes we call it consciousness, but this electrical component of the heart's field is 60 times greater in amplitude than the electromagnetic field produced by the brain. Not only that, but the magnetic component of the heart is 100 times stronger than the brain's magnetic field. And it can be detected several feet away versus your brain's magnetic field, you have to be within an inch of the brain. So when we're talking about this heart-brain connection, it's really important, right? And that's where heart rate variability can come in because it helps us better evaluate the variability within your heart rate, which tells us how healthy the brain is responding to your world, or your heart is responding to your world, and that impacts the brain. So your heart influences emotional processing. We'll get into that in a little bit, as well as higher cognitive function that include attention, perception, memory, and problem solving, right? We can relate that to the brain and executive function, which goes on in your prefrontal cortex, right? And if there's anything impacting your heart and what your heart experiences in your world, it impacts the brain's ability to process. So addressing heart and brain, really valuable in your healing and recovery, in your resiliency and adaptability of what's going on in your world, whether you're exposed to a virus like COVID, or you have poor sleep, add in a timeline related to work, and you've got stress related to a personal relationship, right? Whatever the stress is going on in your world, you want to address support of healthy heart function. And I say heart, not in terms of, heartbeats and blood pressure and all of that. I say how it perceives the world, right? That's where you get into cancer treatments, and they say the big thing that people need to address is past traumas, right? Past emotional traumas and mental traumas, growing up or in relationships, whatever it may be. So we're going to dive into that in just a second. But let's see what we have on this next slide here. So most of us, right, have been taught in school the heart is constantly responding to orders sent by the brain. But what we just talked about is the heart actually sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart, right? And so what we've thought for a long time is the heart operates kind of like a metronome, right? Get that metronome as you're learning the piano, it gives you a beat. It is faithfully beating regular, steady rhythm. But what we know now is that this is far from the case. A healthy heart rhythm is irregular. It has time intervals, consecutively heartbeats that are constantly changing, right? So here is, an EKG. This is the heartbeats. And when you look at those heartbeats, you can see 0.859 seconds, 0.793 seconds, 0.72 seconds, right? So these are really teeny tiny moments in time, and yet that variability impacts the overall health and well-being of a body. A lot of you heard this in your report, but when they first installed pacemakers, okay, they actually found that it killed people because that heart rate was so regular. So we need these irregular time intervals, number one, to support a heart ability to recover, but also to allow for a variability and resiliency and ability to adapt to what's going on in your world. So if you remember, I've shared this with a lot of people, but let's just think about this, right? And how it relates to real time, real world. So if you are laying down fast asleep, middle of the night, right? There is no gravity. Your brain is doing a ton to recover. We'll say brain and heart, doing a ton to recover from a day's worth of work, right? So heart rate, pretty slow, right? Let's say suddenly somebody pounds on your front door, right? It's midnight. Who's pounding on your front door? You sit up, you got to get blood to the brain, right? So heart rate increases. It's midnight. Who's pounding on your door? You're up here, right? You feel an adrenaline rush. You feel all the blood shunting from your vital organs to your extremities, power the muscles. You feel your eyes are dilating. You are physiologically, neurologically getting into a state to respond to what's going on in your world to counteract potential threat of survival, right? So you have to call the police, have to grab your bat or a weapon that you may carry around to protect yourself. You run to the front door and you realize, oh, you're my neighbor. You locked yourself out. You need some help, right? So you immediately go from here to here, right? You still got gravity to work with. So every moment of every day, your brain and your heart are perceiving your world, and you may be up here, maybe down here. The more variable that is, the healthier you are. Okay, let's think about these pacemakers, right? If we had a regular heart rate, right, faithfully beating, steady, okay, laying down middle of the night, you were fast asleep, you got this pacemaker, it is faithfully steady. Suddenly somebody pounds on your front door, you go to sit up, there is no change for that heart rate, right? You get dizzy, right? You got to wait for that blood, that heart rate, that blood to catch up so I can get blood to the brain. You go to stand up, right? You're imbalanced. So these folks who had poor variability, no variability, right? Not only could they not recover appropriately, but they couldn't respond appropriately. And so healthy variability within that heart rate is so vital for resiliency and adaptability of a body to respond to your world, okay? And we see that there's impacts to this heart rate variability with positive and emotional experiences, okay? So, oh, let me first rewind here. because a lot of times people think, all right, so you're telling me that the heart is important, right? Kind of a bigger deal than the brain in some cases, but how do they relate to each other? And that's where we have something called your autonomic nervous system. So your autonomic nervous system are two branches of your nervous system. Okay, they work synergistically together, but they regulate most of your body's internal functions. Okay, so you have the sympathetic nervous system that acts to accelerate your heart. Okay, while parasympathetic nervous system, or considered vagus nerve, slows it down. Okay, so your sympathetic and parasympathetic branches of your autonomic nervous system, or ANS, are continually interacting to maintain cardiovascular health and activity in optimal range to support appropriate reactions to the ever-changing external and internal conditions. Okay, so again, your sympathetic nervous system, that is your fight or flight. You walk into a dark alley, you see a lion, you're going to go into fight or flight mode, right? Again, sympathetic is the response, cortisol, right? Cortisol is injected when you're in a sympathetic state, stress response. So we see adrenaline rush, we see eyes dilated so you can see, we see blood shunted from vital organs because this is not a time to digest your food, right? We want to power the muscles. We want to be up and ready to go. Okay, so a sympathetic state is very different than, say, a parasympathetic state, which is rest and digest. It's active at night. It's active after we eat. Both branches are very important, and it's important to have healthy balance and synergistic work and action between the two. It becomes a problem when we are in one or the other. We get stuck there in terms of patterns. So heart rate variability allows us to measure, okay, where is this person hanging out? Are they in a sympathetic state? Are they in a parasympathetic state? And how is this system working synergistically? Is it impacting their ability to adapt and respond to their world? So I find that when we talk about the nervous system and how it relates to the heart piece, emotions can play a big role in that. Okay, so let's talk about some emotions. So a lot of this data is taken out of the HeartMath Institute. They are doing decades of research to really assess the heart, which is really fascinating. But what they found, a person's emotional state is also communicated throughout the body via the heart's electromagnetic field. The rhythmic beating patterns of your heart changes significantly as we experience different emotions. Negative emotions, okay, such as anger or frustration, are associated with erratic, disordered, incoherent patterns in your heart's rhythm. Okay? In contrast, positive emotions such as love, appreciation, these are associated with smooth, ordered, coherent patterns. Okay? These changes in your heart's beating pattern can create a corresponding change in the structure of your electromagnetic field radiated by the heart. Okay. So again, we go back to your heart can influence your cognitive function. Not only can it help regulate your emotions, but it impacts your ability to think clearly. It impacts your concentration, your productivity, your goal-oriented tasks, right? It's so vital in terms of how these two work together. I found this interesting. So there was one experiment that HeartMath Institute did. They did this on healthy human fibroblasts, which are skin cells, and then they did it on human fibrosarcoma cells, which are tumor cells with the same lineage. They were both exposed to the same coherent heart signal. Okay, coherent heart, that's this lower picture on this this slide, right? Nice coherent heart rate. You can see an emotion related to appreciation, so very positive emotion, versus that frustration. You can see how erratic it is. So these two different types of cells were exposed to that appreciation heart rate. And what did they find? They found that the growth of the healthy cells was facilitated while the growth of the tumor cells were inhibited. So the tumor cells stopped growing when you have healthy, coherent function of a heart, right? Which is a big deal. And let's talk about the term coherence, okay? We're talking about it in terms of your heart, how your heart perceives your world. But coherence, okay? Coherence is like a symphony, right? You've got, I don't know, 50, 60 different instruments, but together when they play one note or one melody, and they play it together in the same octave. I don't know, I guess it's been a while since I've played piano, but they play it in the same tune, right? All is one. It creates this beautiful music, right? Beautiful to our ears. Think about if one of those instruments was out of tune, or all of them were out of tune, right? They're each playing different notes. That's a lack of coherence. That's like this frustration here. That's like erratic, incoherent, confused, disorganized pattern. Similarly, I like to think of like a flock of geese or a school of fish, right? They are, 50, 60, or a school of fish can be hundreds, right? They're individual, but together they work as one. You have trillions of cells in your body, trillions, right? That number we can't even fathom. But if we have more cells working in coherence, working as one, versus, incoherent or erratic, right? If we can increase that level of coherence, guess what? Your experience in the world is significantly better. And so when we experience negative emotions, right, that increases a level of incoherence, and not only impacts how we perceive the world and how our brain processes things, but it impacts this heart piece and how we emotionally respond to our world. And so I like to think about this in terms of this last year, right? Year and a half, when we've been in lockdown and we are scared to be in our environment, we're scared to be around other people. We've heard the reality is we are told to, that there's one group of people who are, not following through, and there are others who are. I mean, what am I talking about? I'll tell you, I had a experience where I walked in and said hello to somebody who I know, and they said, said this in a joking manner, but he was very serious. He said, very blanketed statement, everybody who's not vaccinated, they should just die already. I said, whoa, that's a pretty blanketed statement to say everyone should die. They're not choosing this action, right? He said, I don't care. They're choosing this, they should die. And reflecting on that, whatever your choice is, I'm not on the front lines, but I work in healthcare and I see people, and each individual person has their own history, right? History, not just my history, but it goes back generations. And we've all experienced different stresses. We are all carrying a toxic loading. When introducing anything into the body can put us over or cause an adverse reaction, whatever it may be. I think when it comes to healthcare, we should have a choice on what we choose to do, what is right for us, because only I know, or only you know really your true history of health, right? So when an individual is in a state where they make a blanket statement that they should, people should die because of their choice, that to me tells me, number one, the pattern that they are in terms of how they feel about the world, the level of emotions, whether it's positive or negative, that they're experiencing, and how they may be stuck there, and how they're wishing, something on another human being, right? So we have been in this world for the last year and a half, and right or wrong, whatever the choices are, that's not the conversation here. It's how has that impacted your coherence? How has that impacted your ability to respond to emotional states? What emotional state have you been hanging out in? What have you been surrounded by, right? And if it has been a lot more negativity, then that has major impacts to your health, your heart coherence, your brain health, and we see it translate to your structural health, your physiology. And so that's where we all need to be very careful with what we allow in to our bodies, to our brains and minds, because it's not just physical health. That's oftentimes what we think, oh, that's easy to relate to, the physical health piece, right? If I have postural distortion where I've got an increased kyphotic curve and I'm decreasing the space that my organs have to function, yes, that's going to impact cardiovascular health. And we don't take into account this electromagnetic field that is 60 times stronger, 100 times stronger in terms of electromagnetic field amplitude in terms of 60 times stronger than the brain, and how we respond to things, right? So our brain, the rational piece, doesn't always equate to our response. So when you're talking about having anxiety or some of the mental and emotional stressors, the heart plays a big role into it, right? And so we need to be really protective of who we allow in terms of messaging, what we listen to, and how long we stay in that state, right? Because this is vital, right? Again, going back to this experiment, right? Positive, well, I'll say coherent heart signaling grew healthy cells. It inhibited tumor cells. So if you have incoherent and erratic signaling, what is that allowing growing in your system? We all have abnormal cell growth going on all the time. Abnormal cell is cancer cell, right? We all have that. But if we're in a negative emotional pattern and that is allowed, and we allow that to become the baseline for which we are responding and processing our world, what is that allowing to manifest in our body? Manifest, grow, right? So, I mean, it is vital. This so vital in what we allow in, because it impacts this. And again, that's where going back to cancer treatments, so vital that we address past traumas, right? So how do we improve HRV coherence? Meditation and mindfulness can be amazing. I also like to do vagal exercises. So when we go over your anniversary report, I like to give out a chart. Let me grab it here. A chart that breaks down your core score. A chart that breaks down your core score to help us really evaluate, okay, if you have a low reserve or poor scoring in terms of your heart rate variability, what and how can you address it? Okay. So I'm going to just go to the slide here. Yes, it can be the mindfulness meditation piece. Okay. Are you doing those activities that allow for you to take your focus from outward to inward, right? How is the stress management in your world? Again, meditation, mindfulness can play a role in that, right? Journaling can play a role in that. What else do I have here? Work-life balance. Okay. Is your work-life balance out of balance? I also have diaphragmatic breathings. That can also go into mindfulness and meditation, but what is your breath work like? Okay. We also have fun, joy. Are you playing in your world, right? Are you doing things that elicit those positive emotions? So I'll say joy, but that can be play, that can be fun, celebration, laughter, right? Are you getting reconnected to your outdoors? I also have community and connection, friendship. All of those contribute to a healthy and improved heart rate variability, improved coherence in your world. And I also look at sleep. Sleep is vital. And the last thing, what do you love to do and are you doing it? What are your hobbies? So that's typically what I use as a gauge for you to really assess, okay, how am I doing? If I'm scoring low on my heart rate variability, how am I doing in my world to help support improved outcomes there? Okay. The other thing is vagal exercises. So your vagus nerve is your parasympathetic nervous system, right? That's that rest and digest. Takes you out of stress state and shifts you into more of an anchored, settled down state. Okay, so vagus nerve exercises, anything that you can do to elicit that vagus nerve. An easy thing to do is go right at the base of your head, right behind your ear. You'll feel that boniness. Then you go to the jaw here. You're going to go in between those, right below your ear, and you're just going to wiggle. You're going to physically stimulate that vagus nerve. Okay? You're going to do both sides. The vagus nerve comes out both sides. Physically stimulating the vagus nerve gives you good input into the brain to shift and support healthy heart rate variability. You can also hum or sing or gargle. That really gives you great vagus nerve input. The other thing is breath work. Okay, I have a really great spinal hygiene exercise up called diaphragmatic breathing. But when you focus your breath work and you focus on that exhale, breath in, but lengthen that exhale for as long as you can. That stimulates parasympathetic nervous system function, which stimulates vagus nerve, which is what we want to support that heart rate variability. The last thing, I'm going to take you through this pretty quickly, and then when this is posted on the website, I want you to go back to this. But there's a meditation called Quick Coherence Technique. It can be done very quickly. We're going to listen to it together. It's a 2-minute video that I found on YouTube, which breaks it down pretty quickly. But this can be immediate in terms of changing your experience and how you process things and just reconnecting to you and shifting that heart rate variability. So we're going to go there really quick, but I want to make sure I'm sharing my sound. So if you are in a place where you can close your eyes and listen to, let me make sure I'm at the right place. Can you guys all see this? Actually, it doesn't matter if you see this, because this is it's just an audio that I want you to listen to. But if you can just sit down, close your eyes, we're going to go through this for 3 minutes. I know I'm going over. I apologize for that. And you can tune back into this at any time once we have it uploaded. So here we go.
Simple technique that translates pretty well in a format like we're in today. Mm-hmm. And it's a technique called the Quick Coherence Technique. It's the simplest of all heart math techniques, but it's very fundamental to many of the other techniques we teach. It's something we can do anytime, anywhere. You can do it with your eyes closed. You can do it with your eyes open. And what it does is it brings your heart and your brain into a more aligned state at the physiological level. We measure this stuff. Heart math's known for its science. Mm-hmm. We measure these changes, and it synchronizes heart and brain at a physiological level. And then what it does is it begins to open up the brain so that we begin to experience more of a flow of these type of positive emotional states that we want more of in our life. Mm-hmm. And it's something we can do very quickly. So if you'd like, in our program today, I would be glad to share this with everyone who's listening.
I would love it, and I know everyone would love it. Please proceed. That's great.
Okay, so eyes open if you want to, or eyes closed if you're in a place where that's appropriate. And it's a 3-step process.
Okay.
Step 1 is called heart focus. What I'd like you to do, invite you to do, is to shift your attention from up in your head down into the area in the center of your chest, the area of the heart. Sometimes it's helpful just to feel like you're taking an elevator down. Mm-hmm. All of the thoughts and the things that are happening there, just descend down and focus your attention in the area in the center of your chest, the area of your heart.
Okay.
Now, maintain your focus there, and step 2 is called heart-focused breathing. Breathe breathe naturally, normally, but a little deeper than you normally would. And as you breathe, pretend as if the breath is flowing in and out through the center of your chest, the area where you have your focus. We'll do this for a few breaths. Inhale, breath's coming in through the heart. Exhale, back out through the area of the heart. Now, the third step is called heart feeling. Maintain your heart focus and continue doing that heart focus breathing. And now I'd like you to activate a positive emotion. Perhaps just remember a time when you felt good inside. Some things that are helpful, or maybe to feel appreciation for the good things in your life, things that you have that you really can appreciate. Or maybe you can feel some of the love or care you have for someone or something in your life. Or maybe a feeling of compassion for others. Those type of positive emotions. And without straining, do your heart-focused breathing and just feel a heart-related emotion like that and breathe it in and out through the area in the center of your chest. See?
It's that easy. That was 3 minutes with 40 seconds of him explaining what you were doing. So I've got the steps on the slide here, but I will tell you that you choosing to do the things that support improved heart rate variability, improved coherence, will change your experience and how you process your world. It is so vital now more than ever. Know that when you get adjusted, when we correct your subluxations, we are addressing any stress to your autonomic nervous system. We're inputting good input into your vagus nerve. We're reconnecting your brain and your heart, right? We are supporting your heart rate variability, your ability to perceive your world, not only brain-wise, but heart-wise, right? So that's where I really appreciate, all of you who show up for the workshops, number one, but also choose to take care of your spine, take care of your brain. It is an investment in many ways, but you doing the things is so vital, right? To your health and well-being in the trajectory of your life, because only you can do it, right? You are in the state you are in because of the choices you have made. You can change those things to express greater levels of health and potential, to change how you experience the world, to change how you connect with other people, right? So that's what we're here for, to connect. So I appreciate you. Thank you for being on the workshop tonight. I apologize that we started late, and I apologize that I went over, but please, I encourage you to go back and listen to that quick coherence technique, or listen to any of the things we'd gone over tonight. So you are great. If you know of anybody who needs to get plugged into this, please share this and please refer them into our office, because a lot of people don't know what you know, and we can change their life, right? One spine at a time. All right. Love and appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I will see you in the office.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, yes.